Alrighty guys, it is time to tackle webinars. We are going to go over how to create your webinar slides without stressing out, how to get more people to actually show up to your webinar so they can hear what you have to say, and also what you might be getting wrong right now if you're doing the perfect webinar formula. So let's dive into all of these now. Let's get ready to do our webinars right. There's basically two parts to any kind of sales mechanism, right? There's number one is the messaging, what you're saying, how you're selling. And number two is the look and the feel and the branding. And we really subscribe to the idea that both matter. And so we create templates that are both really gorgeous and highly branded by professionals that are also really smart, strategic, and are great sales tools. So that's kind of that's our jam. That's where the two kind of worlds come and collide and make amazingness. So we actually have templates that you can buy that are ready to go for like webinar slide decks. And what you need to know about these is they're actually based on collections that like we have fully built out. So these collections go with a whole funnel design. They have social media graphics, there's ad graphics, and then of course there's the webinar slide decks. So there's a whole suite, like a matching suite of a collection that you guys can grab. So I just want to show you what it looks like. I'm just going to basically pretend that you purchased, and I'm going to show you what it looks like on the other side. So you just go to funnelgorgeous.com. If you scroll down, you'll see that we have all the designs here towards the bottom, and so you can just click the design that you like, or you can of course explore around. I'm going to click into geometric and you'll see everything that the geometric collection has. There's the templates, there's the webinar funnel template. So if you want to actually have a webinar funnel on that side, and then there's the membership areas, and there's the webinar slide deck presentation for PowerPoint and Google Slides. This is what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to move over into our membership area and show you. So like, let's pretend that you just purchased, and now we are inside of this area. So there's a couple things. When you go in here, there's a whole editing tutorial inside here, and that is going to show you guys exactly how to change all of the things, how to change out the font colors, how to change out the image assets, all that stuff. So I don't want to go over that today. I don't want to bore you guys with that stuff because that's just all in here. We have a whole library of videos, but I want to show you what the actual slide deck templates look like. And so you can kind of get an idea of what yours should look like. This is just a PDF version, but there's the Google Slides, you'll see PowerPoint, or there is the PDF downloaded version. What you do is you would change these to your colors, and you would change them out for your messaging and your whole program. So it's basically plug and play, but you need to understand the strategy behind it. So this is a presentation. When you're selling through presentation, there's a sense of something they walk away with. So they're exchanging their time with you to hang out with you. All of us are super busy, right? And so it's a big deal for us to spend this much time with you. And so you're exchanging something for that time, and you're not just straight selling. So usually there's a value play on the other side. So it's coming up with some kind of content that actually teaches and informs and helps the person, whether they buy from you or not. So this is a whole strategy, obviously, of the webinar. We dive further into this in other videos, but I just want to say that ahead of time because this is really like a teaching tool. It is a presentation, but we're actually giving, value to the person who's watching. And so that's kind of how you're going to use these slides. And you could do it the way that I'm doing this exact video right now, where you can see your face and you're actually teaching, you're presenting, or of course, you can do it just verbally. But the good thing about having slides is that we are visual people, as just human beings are visual people. And so when we see written words, we have a greater understanding. So it's not the same thing as just standing up on a stage and kind of talking or just talking to someone. When you actually have visuals, it increases your professionalism factor, but it also increases the clarity of the message and understanding. And so that's why we always say you need to have these. Not everyone uses slides, but we use them, and they tend to be really, really successful. So you can see here in the slides that we sell, there is like a flow here. So I want to go through these really quickly just so you can kind of see. And you can see there's 65 slides here, so I'm not going to go too much into them. So there'd be like a title slide, how to do this incredibly awesome thing without having to do any of the things that you hate. You'll have a hook or a story or a quote, something that's using statistics, curiosity, something that really pulls the viewer in. Just say like, did you know that? Blah, blah, blah. Right? And so let's dive in. Then you're going to pull the meaning out of the story for your viewer. You're going to expand on the quote in the story. Who here can relate? You might say it's not your fault. The idea here is to draw the statistic or quote back to them. So you see that this is really a visual process, but it's also a sales process where we're kind of talking through the idea of what we're about to talk about. And then here, there might be some testimonials that you kind of pull in about how this journey was great for them, right? And so you can kind of see with the prompts here. Our goal here today is they want to know what to expect from the workshop, what they will know, believe, or understand differently by the end, and then using bullet points to make it easier, acknowledging the gap. They want to be in a different situation, but they don't know how to get from here to there. Show that you understand their frustration. And so you see here, all of the design is so awesome in here. It's all like laid out perfectly. And I'm looking at the PDF version, but if you see, I'll show you guys in a second, the actual slide version so you can kind of see how this rolls out. Introducing yourself, being honest about your journey. You talk about your story and different results that you have, your turning point that made a difference for you, some objections. You can kind of see how we're walking through the sales process as we go. Here's where we introduce the product, talking more about the product. But you see a lot of these slides are very similar. So there's only really like a handful of slides of design, but they're just kind of reused in a way. And that creates a familiarity, that creates a consistency in branding. But it also makes it easy too, to like if you were to change out the colors and stuff like that, you'll have those exact designs there. All right, so now I popped over to Google Slides. So you could use PowerPoint or Keynote or any of those guys, the actual presentation softwares, but we use Google Slides, and really, it's free. It's awesome. We love it. For all of the newer webinar slide decks, we do have those in vector format. So you will be able to, on those newer ones, just click and change out the colors. You can see here, you just go and change out the colors to anything that you want. And that's how you can go through, and you can see these all here. When you go to presenting those, you'll have this little slide deck thing where you can see your notes. No one else can see this, right? When you're actually presenting, and you can click through here as you're presenting. This is not rocket science. This is kind of plug and play. You can use the actual templates that we've created for you and just kind of put in your content. Or if you'd like something a little bit more in depth, we do have an entire course on webinars called Webinar Gorgeous that you can check out. But honestly, I feel like some people really try to make these really complicated and this whole process is complicated, but it's just not, especially when you have a template that makes it plug and play for you and really kind of hard to mess up. Let's dive into the 10 ways you can bring people to your webinar. The first way is through your email list. This is probably the most obvious way, but I definitely have to mention it. And it's also why you should be building out your email list as much as possible. Emailing your list is totally free. You just got to build it first. So make sure you watch our other videos on how to build up your email list through lead magnets, through free lead magnets, bringing people over onto your list. But once they're on your list, it's totally free. You just send them out a message, let them know when it's happening, and they can even be automatically registered by just clicking a link. They're already on your list, so they're just registered to get on the list to be notified of when you go live. The second thing you can do is do it inside of a Facebook group. So this could either be your own Facebook group that you own, or it could be a Facebook group that you're a part of. If they allow promotions, sometimes other groups will allow promotions on certain days, so make sure that you are following all the rules so you don't get kicked out. But a lot of times when you're helping people with stuff, people will kind of naturally gravitate towards you, especially if you're helping people around what your webinar is about. They will naturally ask you for more information, and you can say, hey, I actually have a live webinar coming up about this very topic that you can come to, and it's totally free. The third way is one of my favorite ways. It's actually Instagram stories. So you can use Instagram posts, but Instagram posts are, subject to the algorithm. They could post at any time. Someone could actually see it, and it's like the live webinar is already passed. So I love doing the Instagram story route because they're live for 24 hours, and you know that people are at least going to see it within 24 hours of your live webinar. The coolest thing about it is you can remind people more than once about it. You can say, hey, it's coming up next week, it's coming up in a couple days, it's tomorrow, okay, it's today, and it doesn't really like stack on top of each other like it would inside of a feed. The fourth thing is Clubhouse. If you guys are on Clubhouse, you know how awesome it is, and it's really, really helpful for webinars to promote webinars on, because it's already like a live kind of, hey, we're excited, we want to learn more, we're listening to you talk, and now let's just jump over onto my webinar where I can show you everything I've been talking about. Since Clubhouse is not a visual platform, it's a really cool way to bring it over into visual, and so you can say everything that I've been talking about today on my Clubhouse, let's move over and let me show you how it works visually through my webinar. Such a great synergistic combination of platforms to go, hey, you're listening to this content, now let's go watch the content. The fifth way is through some sort of a partnership. This is also called a JV webinar if you are actually doing like a paid partnership. But basically what it means is that you invite someone else's audience. Whatever the trade-off is, whether you're swapping audiences or you're paying them for the participation or they're an affiliate or something like that, it's just basically using someone else's audience, and that shouldn't cost you any money as long as there's a deal set up on the end where it's win-win for both of you guys. They can pitch it to their audience and you can do that for totally free. The sixth thing is Instagram Live, so IG Live. So I talked about Instagram stories before, but it's actually fun to go on Instagram Live when you are about to go live. So Instagram Live only really catches people that are on Instagram around that day, and also you can turn it into recording, but how I like it to use it best is actually the live feature. Everyone who pops up on live, just, hey, I'm about to go live on this webinar, come join me. And so it catches them in that very moment. And that leads me into number 7, which is Facebook Live. Basically the exact same reason. People are around, they're hanging on Facebook. You can catch them via Facebook Live. It'll send them a notification. You can actually say, hey guys, we're moving the party over to here. Here's the link to come to my free webinar. And some people even do their webinar like kind of simulcast on Facebook Live. So you could do it that way too. The 8th way is also on Facebook, but it's a little bit different, and it's through a Facebook event. So this is more than just a Facebook post. You actually put your webinar as an event in Facebook, and then people can add it to their calendars. It will remind them that the event's coming up. They can, you know, say, yes, I'm coming, no, I can't come, just like any other online event. And so it's a little bit of a different way to kind of get their attention. The 9th way is through affiliates. And so this would be different than a JV partnership, because a JV partnership, you would be using their audience and just kind of like pairing up with them. Usually a JV partnership, the person actually shows up on the webinar with you, like they're kind of co-hosting it with you. Whereas an affiliate, they just have a link. You can have several affiliates, right? A JV partner would be probably one person that you're doing this actual webinar presentation with, but an affiliate relationship would be bringing a bunch of different people from a bunch of different audiences over, and they get an affiliate commission on the end when the person buys. And then the 10th way is so cool, you guys. It's so cool. It's actually having the link to it either on the end of your lead magnet, whatever kind of download you have, or it's actually on like the last page if you have a sort of digital lead magnet where they're going from one page to a download page, something else like that. It can actually handle the registration right there. So it could be the very last page and you could say, hey, sign up. We have something coming up live on such and such date. Put your information in right here and come and learn more about this topic that you already signed up for information on. So it could be as simple as tacking it onto the last page of a PDF in a lead magnet, or it could be something as sophisticated as having it on the very last page of a funnel that you build, and then it actually sends them dynamically to sign up and register right there. So the number one problem with formulas for marketing, and especially for webinar formulas, is that they think that the magic is actually in the formula itself. And so if you think of the formula like guardrails, it's kind of like a skeleton structure. The beauty isn't in the structure, the beauty is in what's inside the structure. It's like looking at a blueprint of a house and reading it, and that's totally different than actually walking inside of a house, right? And seeing all the textures and the colors and the life that people bring to homes. So that is the same thing that people are doing with webinars. They're following these structures so closely. They're not infusing their personalities and their brands into these webinars. And so it makes for a very boring webinar, because especially when something as popular as the perfect webinar, which is taught by Russell Brunson, which totally does work, by the way, when they use it too closely to the structure and the formula, it feels very robotic, and we can start to, as consumers, start to see the same webinar over and over and over again, and we're like, wait, I swear this is deja vu. Like, have I already seen this webinar? And it's because those people were following way too closely. So the takeaway from there is that the magic is not in the formula. The magic is what you put into the formula. Your special flavors, your special spices, your brand, your style. Make it different, make it unique, and make it feel like you. And the second big problem is that most people don't observe the behavior of the person who built the formula. So they don't even pay attention to what they're actually doing. So for example, if you're looking at the perfect webinar, does Russell actually even do the perfect webinar anymore? Not really. Because the fundamental thing is, once you understand the formula, that's when you're actually allowed to break the rules. And so it's kind of like learning how to ride a bike, you know, and then eventually you're going to take those wheels off and you're just going to go soaring off into the sunset. It's the same Same thing with marketing formulas and especially webinar formulas. You want to understand the mechanics behind it and the flow and how it should feel. And then once you've kind of got that down, that's when you start to break the rules and actually like start making up your own rules into what makes it unique for you. A really good example of this also is that, you know, we have funnel templates. We have a ton of free funnel templates inside of FG Funnels for you guys to use, webinar templates, also sales pages. But you'll notice that our actual funnels don't look exactly like the templates. We don't use our own templates. And that's because we have come up with the marketing formula for templates, everything that should be included, but we've taken it another step forward into really customizing it and making it us. So we might start with like a basic structure and then we build from there. We add our flavor. That's the thing, is like the better and better you get at this, the more it's going to look different from the original formula. You're going to get like further and further kind of away from this rigid formula, and it's going to really start to feel like this custom version based on the principles of what you learned in the formula. So the takeaway on that one is that learning the formula is just the first step. Then it becomes about understanding the economy around the principle, why it's there, how it can work, and what it can do that is uniquely you. Once you get this dialed in, that is going to be the magic for you. It's going to be authentic. People connect with authentic selling, and so this is why it's so important to understand, get the ropes, understand the structure of what works and why it works, but then make it you. Ultimately, that's the most fun anyways, right? It's not fun to be a robot. It's fun to be a human. So I hope that was helpful for you guys today on how to follow marketing formulas in the beginning, but also just giving you that permission to break out from them. I hope you guys love this compilation that we put together for you, all about webinars, how to make them rock. If you want to see more compilations, let us know in the comments below, and we will see you on the next video.